Hey, you folks, this is Stephen J, Open Mod Productions, and I'm here to talk about a retro shader that I've been working on for the last couple of weeks. And let's just talk about the premise real quick. The idea that I've been tooling around with was the idea of making Easy FPS Editor look as authentically Quake 1 as possible. Like, I want to go all the way back to 1996. So, just up front, this is not in any way a gameplay pack. This is strictly graphical content, what you're getting here. This is not going to give you Quake 1 physics. You're not going to get water volumes, none of that stuff. This is strictly just the visual look of what idTech 3 or idTech 2 would look like. Um, so, this is a 256 color palette with a color lookup table being applied to everything. And in fact, you need to design your textures around the 256 color palette. You cannot just import a true color PNG file into Easy FPS Editor and have it work. It won't work. It will just show up as black because the shader is actually reading color information from the texture. So it needs to be the same palette, and you'll have to design your own palette for your own look. Obviously, the pack will include this palette and lookup table and everything like that, but they are examples. They're not tailor-made for anything in particular. Um, so, what is a palette and a color lookup table? So, back in the day, the Quake 2, Quake 1, Doom build engine era, you couldn't show full true color in your game. You had to have a limited palette, and that palette was usually 256 colors, VGA. And to get different brightness levels in sectors and things like that, you would have a color map or a lookup table which holds the brightness variable for each color index. So, for example, you have color, at color 3, you would have, a gray, and that gray would get darker until it faded into black. And that's done over 32 lines. And these are both PNGs. You can just look at them and see exactly what's going on. So that's the kind of the color aspect of this, the palette of this. It's authentic. It's not just we're applying a 32-bit or 32 color dither or something to the screen. This is an actual paletization of the entire rendering of the engine. So what you're seeing here with this color banding, that's all authentic. If you've ever seen what Quake 1 maps look like and really looked at the lighting of those old Quake 1 maps, this is exactly what it looked like. You can see dithering going on here and that as it gets darker and things like that. So what else? We got included also is my vertex lighting, which Easy FPS Editor has a strange relationship with lighting. Unfortunately, it has some really nice pixel lighting, but the problem is that it seems to interpolate it or something at around 8 lights or so. It starts to have problems. The shading starts to mess up when you start adding in too many lights. So for ease of performance and also to maintain a cleaner look, every light in this shader is a vertex light with the exception of the flashlight. So that just gets rid of that problem entirely. And it's also more authentic to the way baked lighting looked in the Quake engines. So what else? We've got the authentic water warping effect from Quake 1, Quake 2, Half-Life. And this is not, again, there's no gameplay in this. This is not a water volume. It is strictly a shader effect on the surface. And how these are used, how do you make use of them, is that you just import your texture, which you need to make sure is paletized to your 256 color palette in whatever paint program you're using. You import it in, and then you would add a normal map into the textures folder with the specific color in question. And that will trigger the effect on this texture. And one of the kind of cool hidden features of that is that you can actually apply these effects to certain parts of a texture. So you could have part of a texture that warps and the rest of it doesn't, for example. Uh, it's something to experiment with, certainly. Overhead, we have the classic Quake 1 style sky scrolling effect, which is a two-plane parallax effect with different speeds and scales and UV mapping. And this is all controlled inside of the shader. It's not scripting. So if you want to edit those things, you have to actually go inside the .vert or .frag shader, pixel lighting shader, and edit those values. It's pretty straightforward, honestly. I think with a little experimentation, you'll figure it out. But also forgive me for the low quality stand-in textures here. I originally had Quake 1 assets in here with the Quake 1 palette, and it was pretty indistinguishable, if I'm being honest. I was rather proud of it, but this is just a stand-in texture. And the way that's done, I'll show you in a minute here. I'll come back out here and show you. This is just tiles over the top. Again, there's a normal map applied to the texture, which causes it to behave that way. So over here, one of the things about 256 color maps, if you go back and you look at, say, Duke Nukem 3D, you have things like the glowing eyes of the pig cop and things like that. Well, how is that done? I mean, they didn't have emissive maps back then. Well, the way it was done was that you had your 256 color palette, and then on the color lookup table or the color map, you would set certain textures just because all the color map is descending darkness. It goes from full bright color to pitch black. Well, what you just do is decide certain colors you want to stay fully lit, and you just don't darken them. You just make them the same shade all the way down. And so that's what these red, green, blue, yellow color gradients are. They're just part of the palette, and I'm just telling the color map to not darken them. And it's arbitrary. You can make any of your colors behave this way. So that's kind of the other effect in here. The other thing, which I don't have in the demonstration, it's not a big deal, but the way that transparencies were often done in shooters. So, for example, if you want to have a chain link fence or something like that, it was just set with the last color of the palette. So the bottom right corner color, in this case, is a bright pink color. And if you paint that on your texture, it'll be see-through. It'll be transparent. One thing I have not yet tested is translucency. I don't know if it actually works or not. I'll have to do further testing going forward, but I'm considering this a version 1.0. These features work as intended. So things like translucent glass and things like that may not work. I don't know. I have to double check that. But yeah, so we'll go up here real quick and I'll just kind of break the illusion of this sky texture real quick. Go into build mode. And then we just fly up here. And this is very similar to how it would look in Quake 1. If you got to the edge of a level, you would see it kind of warping at the edge there. And it looks like it goes on for infinity, but it actually doesn't. What it is this is just a standard 64 by 64 block right here. And as soon as I get inside of it, it breaks, as you can see. So that's just cubes surrounding the map. That's all it is. And that's actually arbitrary, because anything that can take a normal map can actually have that effect applied to it. If you wanted to, you could make a monster, a 3D model monster with the sky warping effect on it. I don't know what that would look like, but you could do that. And so if you wanted to save on polys, at least I think that it would help save on polys, you could use a flat plane and just apply the texture and normal map to it, and it would just seamlessly scroll it across that tile. But for the ease and simplicity's sake, I did it this way, just to demonstrate. Right now this is running on Easy FPS bug fix 5. Clark has said that he is working on an update which will optimize performance, because right now bug test 5 is kind of just choking a lot of systems. Even really powerful systems start to choke with more complicated projects. Certainly it's not viable for any kind of a professional release in this state. We're hoping that Clark will be able to get the GPU acceleration going in there and get the CPU bottleneck resolved so that we can really make use of this engine. And props to him because he's been doing a lot of hard work over the last couple of years to really expand the capabilities of this engine and optimize it. And we want to see him move on from this to Easy Game Builder because it's sure to be 10 times as great as Easy FPS has. And Easy FPS has been a boon. There's been a lot of incredibly choice projects made in this engine. And there's a lot of incredibly talented people. And, shout out to all you guys. You know who you are out there, my homies in the Discord. I really, not just professionally, but just friends. There's a bunch of great guys over there. And if you're somebody who's struggling with game development, you want to get into it, Easy FPS is certainly an interesting place to start. There's no shortage of people who are out there and eager to answer questions, and lots of tutorials and things, and lots of things to learn. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit more low impact than an Unreal Engine or a Unity, there's certainly a lot to do here. And I'm hoping that this pack will inspire some people out there to do some different things with retro shooters. And one thing that's kind of an untapped ground, only a couple of us have really fiddled with it, is the shaders. The shaders allow for a lot of interesting effects and stylistic things that you can do to really bring a project to its full. So that's kind of all I have to say for now. The project is up on itch. Either you're watching this video on YouTube directly, or you're watching it from my itch channel or my itch profile where this is uploaded. So yeah, I look forward to seeing what people come up with. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave comments. I'll try to answer them. You can also catch up with me on the Discord, Easy FPS Hub, at Stephen J. And if you haven't, like I said, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask, and I'll be sure to try and answer them as quickly as I can. All right, folks, I'm out of here. Y'all have a good rest of your day.